What do you think, though, what do you think being in that kind of an environment does to a person?
Oh, it changes you. It changes you. You either become a wolf or you become a victim. It makes you into a violent, mean motherfucker. It's the only way you can survive.
So the medicine is worse than the illness?
Yeah. And honestly, like, that's the only way you're gonna make it. You won't. So when I got to American prisons, I mean, honestly, they were a walk in the fucking park. They were 5-star hotels for me. You know, I don't care what anybody says. Even if you're on lockdown 20. 24/7. If I could lay down and watch TV all day and get my food brought to me, that's fucking room service for me. Because over there, you were lucky if you got fed. So, you know, I came back into the United States and I was still lost. I still had a lot of pain. A lot of my childhood stuff was still in me. A lot of demons. Still trying to fit in. And I started, you know, coming in and out the system for almost 17 years, in and out, in and out, in and out. I think the longest I ever stayed out with 3 years. So, you know, in the process, you know, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 kids.
All women.
All different women.
Do you think that's an ironic twist of fate?
I think God has a sense of humor, you know, and I mean, for instance, like my daughter now, my baby, my smallest one, I have a video up, but it's crazy how somebody so little is teaching me so much about life. Like,
so
she's teaching me like love, patience. Last night she was sick and all she wanted me to do was like hold her. And someone so little and new to life is teaching me what really life is and like creating that bond of family. And it's priceless.
So when was the last time you got out of prison?
I got out 2.5 years ago. I had got out in 2013. That's when my whole like fitness journey started, and I had plans of being a big trainer and doing all these things, and I achieved them. I became a top trainer, and I opened up my own gym and everything, but I was still living like a criminal. I wasn't selling drugs, I wasn't trying to kill people, but I was driving without a license, you know, fucking around drinking, doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing. Playing cat and mouse games with my probation officer. You know, if I knew that he drug tested me on Thursday, on Friday I would be drinking, doing some coke, and just, I already knew that it'll be out my system in a couple days, and I was still playing that game. And finally I tested, you know, I dropped dirty, he caught me. He gave me a chance, that's the ironic part, like he gave me a chance, he sent me to rehab. But in my head, since I was like, fuck it, he already caught me, I just kept on using drugs, smoking weed, and finally he just got sick of my shit, and he told me to come into his office to talk about what the next step was, but I was getting arrested. And I remember that day because I got up and I felt so betrayed by him. But honestly, I wouldn't take that day back, because that's the day that I realized that I had been living like a victim my whole life. I wouldn't think about the stuff that I was doing until I got caught. Once I got caught, then I was like, oh, you know, this happened to me as a kid. This is why I am the way that I am. And don't get me wrong, it worked a couple of times with judges that actually had hearts and stuff like. I'm not saying that all judges don't have hearts, but you know, Judge Silver is my judge for my federal case, and when she sentenced me, she told me, she's like, I don't want to see you back, Mr. Almanza, because she heard my story and she actually felt bad for me. And she gave me a break. She even recommended the drug program for me, everything. Like, she did everything in her power to get me out as soon as I could. But she told me, if I see you here again,
It's going down.
and what happened? She saw me again, and she told me straight up. She's like, what did I tell you? And I was like, oh, I was still trying to play the victim role. It didn't work that time. So she sentenced me to a year and restarted my probation with an extra year added on, so 4 years total. All the inmates were like, oh wow, when I got violated, they cleared all my paperwork, and I went back for a year and then I came out free. And I felt like she was out to get me. At first I was kind of mad and upset for the judge, sending me back. But when I came home, I realized that she was actually teaching me something. And if it wouldn't have been for me going back and, ending up in those places, I wouldn't have learned what I learned, and wrong to strong wouldn't have been created, because I got sent to Victorville, and the first thing that happened when we got there is that they walked us into the kitchen, and there was blood on the floor, and somebody had gotten stabbed for a piece of chicken. And in reality, kind of hit me, and I was like, wow, what am I doing back again? So, they locked us up, and I for sure thought that this time around, even though it was just 6 months, even though it was just 6 months, I wasn't gonna make it home because of the intensity of that yard and everything. And, I'll never forget how that one guard walking me back into my cell, seeing the 5% tattoo that I had on me, and he asked me about it, and I told him, and he didn't believe me. He locked me in my cell, walked away, and I guess he Googled my name and stuff like that, and a couple of my videos came up, and he came up, and he's like, man, you're the real deal, you lift, and I was like, yeah, that's what I do. He's like, what are you doing here? You only have 6 months to do. I was like, honestly, I don't know, man. So he's like, I'm gonna talk to the counselor tomorrow. I was out of there a week later, and I got sent to Lompoc, where it was one of the sweetest yards I've ever been to. I say sweet because there's always gonna be drama. Yards are always gonna kick off, but it was really structured. Everybody had their car in line, and there was weights there, so the weights kind of kept everybody in line. Everybody would follow protocol because they didn't want to lose the weights, and it was a pretty sweet yard. I ended up learning, how to create an LLC, how to start a business, and I started working on my book. And it just gave me time to reflect on my whole life and everything. And, you know, a big change happened in my life. When I got released, you know, I came home with the dream. When I got released, I came home with the dream of creating something that I would be able to help guys like myself that are lost or just don't know how to change, be able to do that. Whether it's through fitness or through a mentorship or through just good old simple like tough love. And I started putting everything together, my LLC, my nonprofit, started visiting the prison out here, the Second Chance program. Started putting in the work. It's been a long journey. It's been a long journey, but it's been worth every mile, every inch has been worth it. My company has grown and I have grown. That's the biggest payoff, is that I have grown and learned